I know. No warm up. Just boom, right to the show. I'm Tony Katz. The show is called Tony Katz. Today we are doing the Asylum Psycho. That is what we are smoking in lovely Connecticut. I have got the Von Riest, the Einheit working today. Go to vonriest.com, use promo code CATS and get your discounts. Mike Tobin of Fox News is in Israel. He is scheduled to call in and talk to us. We'll have the latest on the war and what Trump is going to do. Democrats think that amnesty is the way to reach the voter. And of course, a jocularity will ensue. I don't know. Rough subjects today. I'm glad you're here. I'm Tony Katz. Let's get the radio show started. The Iranians hit a hospital. Oh, no, not their own. An Israeli hospital. The Israelis hit military targets. The Israelis hit military personnel. There's no doubt. They launched the preemptive strike last week. The Iranians do not care. And when I say the Iranians, I don't mean the people. We're all past the point where we're talking about the people. We're talking about the Ayatollah, which is why this whole conversation that Tucker Carlson wanted to have about, you don't know how many people live in Iran. How could you not know the number of people of a country you want to topple? Nobody wants to topple the country. If the Ayatollah went, everybody would be better off. Is that toppling a country? Now, one could argue, well, yeah, I mean, you're toppling the government. You're toppling the country. But this is not a case where the people like their leadership. The people are oppressed. The people are abused. The people are victimized. The people are threatened. The people are attacked. All these things. But I'm just trying to make the argument for the idea that it doesn't matter what the population is. If it's 5 people or 500 million people, that part is inconsequential. It was a cheap move from Tucker, but that doesn't mean that Ted Cruz didn't walk into his own levels of traps, things that he should have avoided. Then again, I think that whole conversation was boring as hell. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com, TonyKatz, TonyKatz.com. Live streaming as we are there on the YouTube and the Twitter X. This hospital is called the Soroka Medical Center. This is almost dead in the middle in the town of Beersheba, the fattest part of Israel, which is not saying much. Israel's a pretty skinny country. I mean, Israel's basically a size 0. The hit of the ballistic missiles from Iran proves that they can still do it. And we should be clear, these things traveled a pretty long distance to get there. Ballistic missiles coming from Lord only knows where in Iran to make that happen. They have sent hundreds and hundreds of ballistic missiles, and only 20 or so have made it through. But it's proof, if anything, is proof that if the answer for the political left is Israel doesn't need to respond, they've got Iron Dome. No. You can't win with just a good defense. You need an offense to go with it. If you don't have the offense to go with it, all you're doing is taking hits, or rarely, but eventually those hits do add up. And if you're not responding, you're letting the other guy just hit you with impunity, and that just seems flat out silly. The hit on the hospital is a reminder that the Israelis, preemptive strike, go after military targets. They're going after the actual issue. The Ayatollah, who wants to destroy Israel and destroy America, destroy the West, and bring on a caliphate. They go after the scientists developing the nuclear weapons. They go after the generals who lead the attacks, push the attacks, and do the funding of the terrorist organizations. The Iranian leadership doesn't care which Jew they kill as long as they kill one. There's a difference. They not like us. They're not. They don't have any code. They don't have any philosophy other than kill. This has led Israel to say, well, it's time to seriously talk about taking out the Ayatollah, vowing vengeance. Netanyahu saying they would exact a full price from Iran because of this Israel attack and because of this hospital attack. And Israel Katz, who is the defense minister, no relation that I know of, by the way, between me and him. Somewhere maybe it's possible. But it's a very common last name amongst Jews. Katz is like the Jewish Smith. There's a lot of Katzes. And if you came across to America, if it was Katzman or Katzin or Katzenberg or whatever it may have been, it got shortened. So I am a true Katz. Our name wasn't shortened at all. But that said, there's a whole bunch of people with that last name. Israel Katz, who is the defense minister, his first name is Israel, has said that the Israeli Defense Forces have been instructed that Khamenei, quote, should not continue to exist, unquote, stopping short of saying there was a specific operation targeting the Iranian leader. Now, this is the kind of stuff that Trump does not want to hear. Trump's walking the fine line. He wants absolutely to be clear that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and he is not going to apologize at all for moving about ensuring that they don't get one. If anything, Trump has been remarkably clear on this subject and has been for years. It is not new. It is not shocking. It is not surprising. Trump has no interest whatsoever in a protracted war. Get rid of any opportunity for them to have nuclear weapons. Get out. The Israelis want to lead. Let them lead. We drop a couple of bunker busters. Israel does the wet rest. Sounds great. Let them do the heavy lifting. Basically, let them make the dinner. Let them make the dessert. Let them make the appetizers. Let them make the side dish. You know what? We'll bring garlic bread. We'll bring garlic bread. And you know what? That's it. Right? It's not everything you need for the meal, right? It's not the whole meal, but you know what? It just sets the meal right. Because who doesn't like a good piece of garlic bread? I ask you. No one? Right. This is what Trump wants. He doesn't, I don't believe, want to drop any bomb whatsoever. He'd rather find the way not to do it. But he has very clearly said and seen that this is real. And I would wholeheartedly agree. This goes back to a conversation we've been having for the past couple of days. The people who've been saying, my gosh, they've been saying that Iran is getting close to a nuclear weapon for 20 years. Correct. And for 20 years, we have not done a damn thing to stop them. Well, what do you mean, Tony? We've done all these things. For the record, all we have done are these little maneuvers, whether it's us or whether it's Israel. All the world has done are these little things, these tiny, tiny little things. That's it. There has been no move of aggression to end their capacity for good. You know, we talk about the bunker buster and blowing up these facilities where they maneuver the uranium and the enrichment in order to create a nuclear weapon. I think we should fill them with concrete. Make it impossible to ever use again. Full destruction, of course, has to happen, which should involve troops on the ground to make that happen. Those can be Israeli troops. Might very well be Israeli Mossad. They may sneak in and do it. After all, how in the world would the Iranians know? Well, they could still send a ballistic missile, which is actually kind of impressive that they still have the capacity to do this. They have no control of the airspace. They wouldn't know who's in the country and who isn't. When Trump was asked what he wants to say to the Ayatollah.
What do you say to the supreme leader of Iran who says that they will not surrender?
Say good luck.
What is the end game?
Say it? I know the patience run out. It's already run out. That's why we're doing what we're doing. You can take out. Yeah, they had 60 days and a big, 60 days, plenty of time. And they made a mistake.
I say good luck to the Ayatollah. They had 60 days. They had plenty of time. And, well, that's the end of that. As much as Iran hitting a hospital, I think changes the calculus for Israel that certainly I would argue they were going to go forward no matter what the United States does. Maybe they think this will get the United States a little more involved. Certainly it has them now speaking in this way of, all right, it's time to take out the Ayatollah. You can't let your emotions get the best of you. You engage the preemptive strike. You cannot be shocked that Iran does exactly what it is that they do. But taking out the Ayatollah isn't the desire of Donald Trump. Ending the possibility of nuclear threat and proliferation, that's Donald Trump's MO. I got to assume the Israelis understand that. And I want to make sure we all understand that. Do we understand the guy that many of us voted for? And I'm starting to get this really weird feeling that, oh, hell no, we really don't. These people voted for Trump and don't understand what he is. Well, we voted for Trump to get rid of these forever wars. Yeah. You didn't vote for Trump to sit on the sidelines while a radical Islamist state gets a nuclear weapon, because if you did, well, then you're dumb. And those people know who they are. And amazingly, they've got pretty good audiences on social media. The problem with having a pretty good audience on social media is that it's not real life. Maybe it'll get you paid, but it's not real life. Doing away with Iran's nuclear possibilities is an 80-20 issue in the United States across all political parties. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Who are we to decide? We're the United States. Well, that's just wrong of us. Bite me. It's not wrong of us. Somebody has to be on top. I've seen the world where the United States isn't on top. That world sucks. That doesn't make us perfect. And if you want the world where China's on top, well, it's going to suck again. So it's got to be us. And sometimes we decide certain things. And one of the things we decide is that radical Islamists who engage in terrorism and the slaughtering of children and setting them on fire don't get to have a nuclear weapon. That is even controversial is nuts. Steve Bannon, producer Carl is in today. Carl is my morning show producer, Carl Showbiz on the Twitter X. You should find him there. Also known as Conspiracy Carl. Oh, he's got many a good one, by the way. If you take a look, Steve Bannon from his war room, he came out to say Iran shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. We just think Israel should handle it, which is engaging a little bit of clarity in the subject. Because I think what Steve said to himself is, man, I don't want to be seen as on the side of Iran being, doing this. This is about America. This isn't about Israel. This isn't about anything else other than it shouldn't be America who gets involved in it. That's his argument. I think it's okay for America to get a little bit involved in it. Well, Tony, a little bit is a lot. Once the nose is in the tent or the foot is in the door, whatever happens with noses and doors and feet, and Lord only knows, you're in it. If the bunker buster technology will do the job to put an end to these facilities, or at least give the Israelis the opportunity to disrupt things enough to be able to get in to end their capabilities themselves, I do favor that. As I said, the Wall Street Journal said Trump had decided on a plan. He was just waiting to give the go order. Trump has said the Wall Street Journal doesn't know what the hell they're talking about or what the hell I'm thinking about. The Wall Street Journal can go, I clean that up a little bit for radio because, I am a gentleman. I do think that Trump is willing. I think Trump would love not to do it. We'll see how it goes. I don't think the Israelis did him any favors when Israel Katz, the defense minister, is talking about taking out the Ayatollah. That isn't his want. He doesn't want to be the guy who takes out a religious leader. Doesn't matter how awful, he doesn't want to be that guy. Taking out Qasem Soleimani, taking out military guys, oh yeah, he can rationalize that. He doesn't want to be that guy. The Israelis can be that guy. And the Israelis should know their role in this. That's where we stand. The Iranians don't care who they kill, which is to say the Ayatollah and his crew don't care who they kill. And that is bad news for them on the world stage. When you're hitting hospitals, it's very hard to get people to come to your side and ask for a ceasefire. And you'll notice how many Arab nations are staying totally silent on the subject. Why? Because they want Iran gone too. I have so much more to get to. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Now, I see that right there is Mike Tobin. Mike, you're a little bit early to the conversation. You good? Can you hold on for a while? I don't know if Mike can hear me or not. I see you, Mike. I see that you're there. We all see it. I don't know if he can hear me or not. Mike Tobin is in Israel as we speak. And so we're going to get with him and get the updates on what's going on the ground. And I know he's a little bit early to the whole conversation, but we will get to it. I promise. Good to be with you guys. So it's interesting today is that I was not supposed to be here today. My home station and a bunch of others taking off for Juneteenth because it is a federal holiday. I was like, well, okay, I'm fine with that. And then what took place was this war. What happens if bombs get dropped? What happens if things are going on? And I'm not on the air. What if you create a best of, or sometimes when I'm off, and I usually like to have people filling in, but this would have been best of, and I couldn't live with myself. So did the show. Doing it now. I'm gonna do it live. Did I tell you that I filled in for O'Reilly on his He does like a 15-minute show, like a vignette show. I filled in like a couple of weeks ago. That was fun. It's a good time. Anyway, let's get back to the radio people. See that? Mike Tobin just called in. Mike, I'm not ready for you just yet, so stay right there while we still get to a couple other things. Mike Tobin from Fox News, he is there in Israel as we speak. We'll get with him in just a bit. Just want to make sure we don't have him interrupting everything we've got going on right now, because he's thousands of miles away. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Social Security insolvency dates moving up to 2023. That's what we've got. Now, for those of us who have been in the business of being normal, we've known that Medicare, Social Security was going to run out of money. I was asked about this on Newsmax yesterday. I said, well, maybe this is a good enough reason to ensure that people who are collecting these things who shouldn't be are out of the country, and maybe it'll last a little bit longer. The fund was supposed to last through 2036. They're now admitting it's in worse shape than last year. Without changes to the law or an expected improvement in finances, as the Washington Times puts it, Social Security checks must be cut by 23%. Medicare payments would need to be trimmed by 11%. And of course, the argument from the political left is going to be, you know what you need to do? You need to raise taxes. We made a promise to these people. We promised them, and we have to deliver. And that means that everybody just has to pay more. And of course, the rich people have to pay their fair share, and blah, 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 blah. I have been willing to accept the argument that when it comes to Social Security, it comes to Medicare, we made a promise. We made a promise. People paid in. They deserve to get. The only way for the society to move forward is to be honest about what the future holds. And the future holds that this boondoggle, I said 2033, guys, not 2023, 2033. Sorry. This boondoggle cannot last. We cannot keep this going. We have to change. And we have to admit that this ridiculous plan is a failure. That the cost is simply too steep. The amount of people paying into it, simply not enough. It doesn't work. So let us say it doesn't work. Let us be clear about the fact that it doesn't work. Let us not lie to ourselves about these things. Rather, let's be people who ask ourselves what can work. Tony, should America be the place of a social safety net? I say to you that if I'm being asked, you, me, in a bar stool, the answer is no. If you ask me, if I also believe in taking care of people who really and truly can't take care of themselves, who need the help, the answer is yes, which is always a private charity conversation, not a ridiculous program that grows ever larger. And then when we make these statements of honesty, we're told, well, we, the American people, aren't doing enough, aren't giving enough, aren't caring enough, aren't loving enough. No part of that is true. This program doesn't work. Let's make the changes, or let's try something new. I'm Tony Katz. What I'm going to try and do right now, the radio show is out. We're here. I am going to see if I can bring in Mike. Can you hear me?
I can. What's going on?
Oh, look at that. Not much. So now we're live streaming. I want to see if the people who are listening to the live stream, if you can hear Mike Tobin, because this is a first for me. Bringing in the phone through the live stream. You see the problem with technology? There's just too much of it, Mike. That's
too many Too many new apps, and everybody wants to make you download a new app while you're trying to accomplish a simple task.
All I want to do is order a pizza. Please, just let me call you and say, Lawrence,
Yeah, I don't want to download.
oh, good gosh.
Yeah. Did that make me an old man? Because I think that way.
No.
Make me download something new.
It's probably your face. That's what makes you an old man right there. Let me get to you over here. Let's see where I can put this. Talk to me. First things first. Where are you?
I'm back in a hotel in Tel Aviv. We're at Ramat Gan, one of the missile strike sites today.
Okay, so you are in Tel Aviv. All right. When you talk about and we've got a couple minutes with the live stream before the radio show comes back, but we'll keep talking right now. Mike Tobin of Fox News. You've dealt with some strikes to Tel Aviv, and my argument has been that I'm surprised if anybody is surprised that Iran was going to fire back. But there seems to be some surprise that they've been able to get this number of ballistic missiles through, although it's a small number compared to the totality of what they've shot. Are you shocked by their quote-unquote successes?
What I'm kind of puzzled by is in the early stages of Operation Rising Lion, they were shooting hundreds of missiles at Israel, and several got through. Last night, they shot tens of missiles at Israel, and several got through. So I put it to a spokesman today, and he said, "Well, it really is. You talk about the frankly miraculous technology that is shooting missiles out of the sky. The fact that it exists, and that some of them are just going to get through. It's not an absolute system." But they really don't have an answer for why you have kind of the same number getting through when you have the estimate was 24 came last night, and 3 got through. When those first days you had hundreds flying in drones as well, and you have 10 get through. So that doesn't really make sense. I mean, maybe the Iranians just get lucky.
Sometimes luck is better than skill any day of the week, and twice on Sunday. I definitely want to talk about this hospital that is getting hit in Soroka. I am pronouncing it correct. Soroka, right?
Soroka, yeah.
Soroka is the name of the hospital. It was in Beersheba, is where it took place. And
Correct.
What it is that the Israelis are they expecting something from the United States? So those are some of the questions I'm going to ask. Hold off right there. We've got about 20 seconds before we're back to the radio show. So we'll save it, as they say in the business, for the air. Mike Tobin, are you Mike Tobin Fox on Twitter, on X?
Yep.
Okay. So you guys can follow him there and find out more and check out what he's doing. The radio show will be back in about 15 seconds. Stay right there.
All right.
What do the Israelis expect? Do they expect the United States to jump in, or are they expecting Israel to handle this on their own, the way that they know how to? They've brought themselves to this place. Finish it up. Does it change with this hit on Soroka Hospital there in Beersheba? Does it change if they think that maybe their defenses, Iron Dome, simply can't keep up with the number of missiles that are coming through? Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Mike Tobin joins me right now from Fox News. He is there in Tel Aviv, and you're in Tel Aviv right now. Have you seen the damage there at the Soroka Hospital in Beersheba?
No, I didn't go to Soroka. I stayed in the Tel Aviv area. Ramat Gan took a missile strike. There's also another area called Halon that took a missile strike. But Beersheba is it's a good hour and some change to drive there from Tel Aviv. Trey went there today, so I went to the other sites.
There are missiles that have been hitting other places as well, and they have been residential, and that's the story, hitting hospitals and hitting residential areas. Are the Israelis surprised that the Iranians are not going after military targets, but of course are targeting civilians?
Well, Iranian media said that they were indeed going for a military target. There's a base there near Beersheba. It's both a military and an intelligence base, and that's what they, according to Iranian media, anyway. Any media in Iran is going to be largely state-controlled, and they do have a state-controlled channel there. So that's their take on it, and you always have to take the Iranian word, with a grain of salt.
So you've been on the ground for a few days now, and you've witnessed some of these attacks taking place. Talk to me about where the Israelis are. Is it their expectation or their desire that the United States get involved and drop these bunker busters, enlist the B-2 spirits, and make this happen?
Well, Netanyahu made a comment or was asked about that today, and he said that is going to be President Trump's option. So I think he's very careful. You don't want to overstep your boundaries with President Trump, and world leaders like Benjamin Netanyahu know that. As far as the average Israeli on the street, I think they don't expect U.S. involvement. But when it comes to using the bunker buster, if they could probably finish off Fordo and be done with the Iranian nuclear problem, if they thought it would be effective, I think they would welcome the U.S. help. They're not out of options beyond that bunker buster, because you think about the ease with which the Israelis have been able to control the skies, and presumably they can control the ground underneath the fighter jets then. So the insertion of commandos years ago was considered just, it's impossible, it's farcical to do that. I don't think it's too unrealistic now that you can insert commandos, get them to blow the doors off of Natanz and Fordo and go in there and just blow it up the old-fashioned way. And so that's an option. They're not out of options if the U.S. doesn't participate, but I'm sure they would rather have the U.S. participation and not put their guys at risk.
Talking to Mike Tobin of Fox News. He is there in Tel Aviv. Give me a bit of overlook about the region itself. Certainly, you're hearing other Arab nations be very quiet. There's a great number of them that would be very happy to see the Iranian regime done for. They're not happy with the Iranians. They're not interested in the Ayatollah. There's instability that comes from this that creates other hegemonic issues. But you don't see anybody rushing to the side of the Ayatollah. Are there any nations that have been doing so? And outside of Syria opening up its airspace to Israel and the United States and others to be able to get there, has there been any helpfulness to the Israelis?
Well, I think I don't think you get a lot of helpfulness to the Israelis from an Arab state. But also keep in mind, that Sunni Shiite divide, that goes all the way back to the plains of Karbala in the year 700. So they don't like each other, and they are very threatened by each other. Certainly, the Sunnis and the Saudis, are threatened by this Shiite comeuppance, and a large part of what you see, this ambition with Iran, is the grand Shiite inferiority complex, that they don't want to be the second-class citizens of the Muslim world anymore. But it clearly they miscalculated with October 7th. And the Iranian proxies, which gave them so much strength and they were such a deterrent for so long, particularly Hezbollah. I think one of the reasons that you hadn't seen an Israeli strike on Iran to this point was the fear that Hezbollah would rain rockets down on Israel, and you'd have, Hamas would fire rockets, and the Houthis and everybody would get involved, and you'd have Israel surrounded. That happened, and Israel endured it and largely took the head off, particularly Hezbollah. So you have President Aoun in Lebanon telling Hezbollah, don't get involved, and they're not doing it. And the Houthis have fired a couple of rockets, and they say that they'll work in solidarity with Iran, but they're not very effective. And so the proxies were, the forward deployed army for Iran, and they're just disempowered.
Talking to Mike Tobin of Fox News there in Tel Aviv. One of the things we heard today was Israel Katz, the defense minister, say that now is the time, and that's a paraphrase from me, instructing the IDF that Khomeini, quote, should not continue to exist, unquote. That's the story from foxnews.com. Is that kind of conversation helpful to getting President Trump to make a decision to join in on this fight and drop these MOPs, these massive ordnance penetrators?
I don't think it could connect the two. I think that this was Israel Katz showing some anger, probably playing to his constituency. But the fact that you have a world leader calling for the assassination of another world leader, that I think puts us into a new space. Generally, the world leaders, their knees start knocking if you start calling for assassinations, because that means that's in play. If two guys are talking tough in a bar, nobody throws a punch, like the world of punching hasn't been open. But as soon as somebody throws knuckles, then it's on. And if someone takes out a world leader, at least starts attempting to take out someone who's at the top of the food chain, that means everybody at the top of the food chain is vulnerable, and that's all fair game. So I think generally world leaders are reluctant to say that or put that in play. But to have the defense minister of Israel say that guy needs to not exist anymore, well, it's not subtle what he's saying. Let's assassinate that guy. And so if assassinations are on the table, it changes the whole world dynamic, I think.
So now we get into what these next days can bring, and certainly because of what's taking place with Iran and this preemptive strike, the eye has been taken off still the plight of the hostages with Hamas. Is there any situation that has been discussed anywhere within the Knesset amongst any people or Israelis on the street that there is a deal to be made that the Ayatollah gets spared if Hamas releases the rest of the hostages?
Wow. I certainly haven't heard that conversation. I know the military operations are still going on in the Gaza Strip. In fact, Israel just lost another soldier in fighting in the Gaza Strip, and that got buried behind all of the headlines. But there certainly is combat going on, not only there, but also in the West Bank. Operations are still continuing. But the idea of swapping out the Ayatollah's wife for hostages, I haven't heard that yet. There would be nothing that would surprise me at this stage of the game, though.
The word from the Wall Street Journal was that President Trump had made a decision. He's just waiting for the last second to actually give the go order. President Trump has said the Wall Street Journal has no idea what I think at any time. These people are ridiculous. Are the Israelis gearing up for if the United States does drop these bunker busters? Are they gearing up for what would be an all-out offensive from the Iranians?
Well, I think Iran has delivered what it can deliver. And you saw the hundreds of missiles decrease to tens of missiles. So, and the Israelis now say that they have taken up 2/3 of the missile launchers. So every time Iran puts a missile on the launcher and puts it out, they lose the missile launcher.
Right.
So I think the Iranians are in a state of disarray. So if you talk about an all-out war with Iran, I think they're showing their A game right now, and it's not a situation where they could somehow advance troops. They don't have that option because they've got the two countries to cross before they can get the troops here, and Israel's going to see them. And they don't stand a chance.
Mike Tobin, Fox News. Mike Tobin Fox is where you find him on the Twitter X. Be sure to follow him and get all the updates. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us, Mike. Stay safe, stay well. We will connect again very soon. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Mike Tobin, thank you, man. I appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah, glad to do it. See ya.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
And there he goes, Mike Tobin, Fox News. What was that, Carl? Good. Good. Interesting. So it's Google Voice. So it's Google Voice into the stream. I wasn't sure if it was going to work. So this opens up a whole new thing. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new thing of things right there. Very, very happy about that. I just want to know. See, one of the biggest problems I have, somebody who knows StreamYard better than me, work with me. If I do an overlay, let's say Mike Tobin's face, that's Mike Tobin. How do I just put it in the corner? Do I have to create a new layout? Like if I could, like, do I create a new and I add boom, right? And then I can add I add that. But I don't want it to be that. I want it to be, wait for it. Hold on a second. Why am I doing this in front of you guys? That's super weird, right? See, I want to be able to put that in this little corner. That's what I can't figure out what to do. How in the world do I do that? That is a thing. Discard this. All right, I'll figure it out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed Mike Tobin. Scheduled in the next hour, we have where do I have? I don't want to get the name. Atali Baran is Atai Baran. Sorry. Council for Political and Economic Affairs, Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. He is scheduled to be with us in the next hour. So I look forward to bringing that to you as well. I didn't recall the name. Can I share with you that I did the most? I'm gonna say this. How much time do I have, Producer Carl? 3 minutes? I did the most like rich guy thing I've ever done in my life, and I am not a rich guy. I make a living. This much I can say. You guys know I damaged the arm and it's healing nicely, but I can't lift. I can't lift anything with my left arm at all. I've been working out with 2-pound weights and I've been crying. It has been very, very sad. My grill, I go to grill like 2 weeks ago and there's a nest in the grill. I thought I used it enough. Clearly there had been a break and some mouse decided this was a place to live. There was a nest in the grill. I was going to clean it up, get the stuff, do everything. I can't lift the grates off can't get the angle without 2 hands and everything else, and everybody's busy. I hired somebody to clean my grill. I am as embarrassed as I have ever been about anything. Guy's terrific. Guy is fantastic. Just great. Older guy. And I'm like, if this is your retirement business, this is like the coolest thing I ever saw. Because he spent like 3.5 hours on it. Took everything out and he's got the power tools and wire brushes. And then there's a wipe down process. And then there's a microbiome and he's, disinfected. It was incredible. Incredible. And I'm saying to myself, like, how is that guy not just the example of success? Now, I don't know his story. He may have had a huge biomed career. He may never have made more than $28,000 a year in his whole life. I don't know. But he's driving a nice SUV. Not super luxury, but nice enough that he feels comfortable. He's got the tools fit on one dolly, right? He's got these 2 containers and a couple other things, and he's able to wheel it around. And I don't know, maybe he does 2 a day, maybe he just does 1 a day. And he sets his hours and he cleans the grill and he can look at the result of his work and say, look at that. And guys like me are like, thank you. And marveling that this is a business. I'm like, this guy has, I think, got it figured out. In a world of high tech, what about the idea of the task that needs to get accomplished that provides a joy that, look what I got done. I can see the result of my work on his schedule. Liked it. Back to the show. It's one of those moments. It seems those moments never, ever go away, where we engage a rousing rendition of Jasmine Crockett Masterpiece Theater. The fine, outstanding Congresswoman from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, has something to say. And as always, it is ridiculous, nay, pathetic, and most probably racist. Jasmine Crockett, the leader of the Democrats, even if they don't like it, is here to speak. And she went to the ever illustrious The View to speak her piece. God, that hurts me. But you got to commit to the bit, Tony. Commit to the bit.
Suspect reportedly had a long hit list. So I want to ask you, do you feel safe as an elected official in this political climate?
No, not at all. I mean, here's the deal. I do this job, and the fact that my safety is a part of doing this job is really bad in and of itself. But while we spend millions upon millions just so that this guy can go and golf, or while they spent $45 million for his little birthday parade, you know, like, I'm just saying, can we reprioritize some of those dollars? When they kill...
How is The View still on the air? Yesterday, it was Whoopi Goldberg, embarrassingly, pathetically, ignorantly. Gosh, I really do hope she sees this. My respect for how she came into this career is unrivaled, and she desperately wants to lose my respect. Black people in America have it the same as the people of Iran. It's too ignorant for words. It's a lie. And no, just because you're black, Whoopi Goldberg, doesn't mean you're correct. And just because I'm white doesn't mean I can't notice that you're wrong. It's an obscene thing to say. You are lost. And at one moment, she said, as Alyssa Farah was disagreeing with her, I can't get you to understand what I'm saying. Well, clearly meaning that because you're not black, you don't understand. No. You're just wrong, Whoopi Goldberg. Black, white, it doesn't matter. You're wrong. That's nutty. But let's go back to what it is that Jasmine Crockett just said.
Here's the deal. I do this job, and the fact that my safety is a part of doing this job is really bad in and of itself. But while we spend millions upon millions just so that this guy can go and golf, or while they spent $45 million for his little birthday parade, you know, like, I'm just saying, can we reprioritize some of those dollars?
You want to reprioritize the security of the president of the United States? No. And as for the little birthday parade, you're talking about the salute to the U.S. Army on their 250th birthday, which was in the planning before Donald Trump was president of the United States. If you want to talk about reprioritizing dollars, what about all the dollars Joe Biden left behind in Afghanistan when he left billions of dollars worth of hardware there? If we're talking about where the money comes from, 45 million, trust me, I wouldn't mind $45 million. As a matter of fact, if you have $45 million, send it my way, right? I'd greatly, just send it to Tony Katz. Don't worry, it'll get to me. I know people. You're not worried about the money. You're not bothered by $45 million. You're not. You've never suggested a $45 million cut in anything in your entire life as a member of Congress. That would be my take. You want to prove me wrong? I'm all in. But you want to reprioritize the security for the president when he goes golfing? You want to reprioritize security for the president of the United States? We're supposed to say, yeah, that's just dumb. We're supposed to say that's wrong. Like when Whoopi Goldberg says being black in America is like living under the Ayatollah in Iran. It's just wrong. And yet people are afraid to say things are wrong because someone like Jasmine Crockett is going to call you a racist or a bigot. Who gives a damn? Let her. Let her scream racist and bigot. It doesn't matter. She's wrong. So's Whoopi. It's okay to say. Don't worry. If anybody asks, well, I'm just quoting Tony Katz. I'll handle that. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. More to get to. This is Tony Katz today. That was a little masterpiece theater with Jasmine Crockett. Now, as for the grill, what kind of grill you got where the cleaning doesn't exceed the price of a new one? I have a Weber. I do have a Weber. I like it. I think it does great work, right? That's not my smoker. My smoker is a Traeger. So I have a Weber grill and it works terrific. And there was no need to be like, well, go get a new one. No, get it cleaned, get it taken care of. This was an extenuating circumstance, right? For if I had spent $100 and gotten the chemicals and the tools that I needed, I could have put, my own time into it and the tools and everything else and a little elbow grease and that's it. Except I just don't have an elbow. I have an elbow. Look what I can do with the cigar. Is that impressive? But that also hurts. I just needed it in this case. No, it was worth it. It absolutely was worth doing. I would need if I did this 4 years in a row. See, and that's another thing. If I did this 4 years in a row and let somebody professionally clean it each season, like each new spring, well, then I'd be like, okay, after that, I could get a new grill, and that would be the cost differential, if you will. But I should hopefully be able to do this on my own. And GM, I love my electric Ninja grill with smoker. Okay, that is Fingers Malloy's favorite. He has the electric Ninja. It does terrific work. Ninja is impressive with what they make. They make some seriously good pieces of equipment. I used to a long time have a Ninja coffee maker. Now I've got the Mocha Master. Is what I have. If you've never seen it, it's from a group called Technivorm. It's weird. It feels flimsy in some of its spots. It's just plastic, but man, it makes perfect. It makes perfect coffee. Technivorm is something else. It's a little bit of a work of art. It's very cool. With that, let me take the quick break here. Right, we're in radio break right now, so we'll be in a little bit of a break right here. Smoke them if you got them. We'll be back in a minute. Well, we'll be back in a few minutes. Won't be just a minute. That would be a lie. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you, of course, brought to you by Von Reist, wearing that is the Einheit right there in the blue. With the gold, it's a series of color combinations you can get at vonreist.com, RIESTE. Go to vonreist.com. Use promo code CATS to get your discount. You should do that. It's an everyday. It is the Sunday watch. However you want to rock and roll. I am not here to judge. Go to Von Reist, RIESTE. Go to vonreist.com and get yours. And get yours immediately. A bunch of different opportunities there. In the automatics, the Munchner, which is a Swiss mechanical, which is a beautiful piece, and of course the Ruden record, which is the chrono. Excellent work. Assembled in Indiana, assembled right here in the United States. Check it out for yourself there. vonreist.com. Use promo code CATS. So what we've got is we've got the White House press briefing that's going to be taking place. So we're going to bring that. I doubt we're going to get any announcement about movement of on Israel. I should say on Iran. I very much doubt we're going to hear that. 1 Minute Heard producer Carl is in for Landon today. Carl produces my morning show on WIBC. Carl Showbiz, that's with a K. Carl Showbiz, at least that's why he's got it on the Twitters, is where you find him. Also sometimes known as Conspiracy Carl, and he has doozies. Oh yeah, absolutely, he does. Appreciate coming out today, because we were discussing how if there's some movement, we didn't want to be off the air. A lot of people, like some of our stations, taking off today for Juneteenth, which is a federal holiday, and we were like, yeah, we can't do that. Can't do that. So he agreed to fill in today. So he's doing good work. Doing the Lord's work is producer Carl. So follow him on the Twitter X at Carl Showbiz, if you will. So we've got the press briefing coming up, and we'll go from there. There's also a listeria outbreak for some of you who are Midwesterners and shop at a Kroger. Also, not just Kroger, and just want to make sure people are aware of that. Also, a Honda recall, which is a pretty interesting deal. We're coming back to the radio show. Let's do it. White House press briefing. It's not like there aren't going to be some phone calls. I'm not phone calls. Questions. See, I get phone calls that are questions. Caroline Levitt, she just gets the question. They don't need the phone. They're right in front of her. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. 833-GOT-TONY, 833-468-8669, 833-GOT-TONY. That's how you get to be a part of the program. We're waiting on Caroline Levitt there at the White House, getting ready for this press briefing. As we do, there was a listeria outbreak linked to a pre-made chicken Alfredo product sold at Kroger and Walmart. So this has got 17 people in 13 states sick. 3 people have died. So that's why I bring it up to you. You have this group called Fresh Realm, which is a food producer, and they produce they have sites in California, Georgia, and Indianapolis. Right? I love how they call California, Georgia, but somehow for Indiana, it's actually Indianapolis. I don't know how that happens. So if you have ever gotten one of these things, one that's called Market Side, that's the name of the brand. Market Side grilled chicken Alfredo with fettuccine, tender pasta, and creamy Alfredo sauce. 32.8 ounce tray or a 12.3 ounce tray. You need to take a look at that, possibly take it back, possibly throw it away. The 12.5 ounce tray of something called the Home Chef Heat and Eat chicken fettuccine Alfredo with pasta. You got to toss that, or you got to find a place for that, because you may not want that in your life. Do not eat the food that'll make you sick. Don't be like, yeah, we paid for it. We'll take our pick. You take the chances on. And then there was a recall from Honda. 259,000 Hondas have been recalled. And by the way, if you're like, Tony, why are you talking about recalls? I don't know. You decide whether I'm adorable or ridiculous. I actually think it's my job. Like, I think it's like I'm on the air. I have this radio show. I have these stations. I think it's kind of like a public service. Share these things. Hondas and Acuras, due to a problem with a brake pedal defect that could present a safety hazard. So the Honda Pilot from 23 to 25, the Acura MDA, which is an SUV, 23, 25, and the Acura TLX sedan from 2021 to 2025. The brake pedal assembly has to get checked at the dealership. So get that done. The press briefing today from Caroline Levitt absolutely is going to have a fair amount of Israel-Iran focus. But we do forget that earlier this week, there was a drone attack, or I should say a bombing that took place of Kyiv by the Russians. That happened. We also note that we are nowhere near close on the one big, beautiful bill. And there was this, did I share it yesterday? There was this Harry Enton over at CNN who breaks down the numbers. And I think Harry Enton has done a good job of representing himself. And there's a reason people will listen, because not only is he a little kooky and a little funny, these are the numbers. They say what they say. It's the same reason that I think Steve Kornacki at NBC is listened to, right? You may not like the number, but it seems clear that he's not trying to make a number work for him. Rather, he's sharing the numbers. And that NBC brought him in to do the football numbers and the odds and what does it mean when they're at halftime in this play and these. He's great and people love it. I think this is the way they felt about people like Nate Silver back in the day. You would love for the numbers guys, the people of bringing the data, to bring it in a way that you can say, okay, this is what it means, and now I could do something with this. Not to be trying to fudge the number or fudge the question to get to a number. We go back to that Iowa pollster. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Ann Seltzer. Ann Seltzer. She had been doing Iowa polling, I think with the Des Moines Register, for forever. And a week before the election, she all of a sudden comes out and says, Kamala Harris is going to win this state by 4 points. Trump was ahead by double digits. What in the world is she possibly saying? How is it even thought of that Kamala Harris is going to win this state? Why in the world would you say this? And my argument was that Ann Seltzer was either purposefully putting a thumb on the scale and fudging the numbers, or ignorantly putting her thumb on the scale and fudging the numbers. This isn't rational. This isn't reasonable. Oh, did I get to write it? Oh, she's a well-respected pollster. You don't know, saying that she's got her thumb on the scale is ridiculous in your own ignorance. Trump won the state by 13.2 percentage points. He won the state by 13.2, which, if you talk about her +4, that is a 17-point swing. You don't make that mistake on accident. You don't. You can't. It is, in a word, impossible. You cannot make that mistake unless you want to. And we want the people who aren't out there trying to fudge a number, make sense of a number. This is what it says. On the one big beautiful bill, we go back to Harry Enton. 26%, 29% of Americans, depending on two different polls that you look at, think this is a terrible idea, as if Democrats are going to be able to really run on this in the midterms. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting data point. Why do they think that this is terrible? What do they think is in it? What have they been told is in it? What is it that they have a concern of? That's the question. That's the whole question. Because I think Republicans need to be looking at this and saying, okay, if this thing passes, where are the areas you're going to have to work? You don't want to give Democrats anything they might be able to grab a hold of and utilize for midterms. Midterms must be won, which, by the way, are November 3rd, 2026. Caroline Levitt's going to have the press briefing. I will bring that to you. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. I'm telling you right now, I do not know why she is so late today. I don't know what's going on. Can I share a story that I had some friends by the studio yesterday, and they suggested instead of the curtain, I should get a giant high-res photo of a field of corn. I should just, for TV and everything else, it should just be a field of corn behind me. I'm like, why don't I just get like one of those pull down things like you see at like the Sears Portrait Studio or JC Penney? I can have the different backgrounds, right? I got the fall leaves and stuff like that. I don't know. I liked the curtains. That's it. But I'm thinking maybe I should change the colors up. Like maybe I'll do a series of color. Oh, that really hurt. See that? Oh God, that really hurt. That's the dumb weakness of the stupid arm. Dang it. Because I have one that's like a blue gray, like a gray blue gray. Like maybe I'll do it like that. I'm thinking I will give that a go. Right, extend them down a little bit. I'm always focused on this thing. It drives me nuts. Drives me. I don't know. I need a I have a professional. I haven't brought him in. I might redo the whole studio. Right. Strike it all. Let's start again. I'm not doing it in Pacers colors, Steven. That's they want to pay me. You got a deal. All right. Coming back in a moment, and we will see if Caroline Levitt is going to get started. She hasn't yet, which is too bad.
Sometimes
White
it
House
takes
press
a different
briefing got a
approach
little bit
to see the
delayed.
possibilities all
It can mean anything. It can mean nothing. It could mean they're not going to hold one, which of course would get people saying, what in the world does that mean? Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over there at TonyKatz.com, TonyKatz, TonyKatz.com. The Fed held rates. There's nothing to check in the markets today. The markets are closed because of Juneteenth. And I know Juneteenth seems to get some people upset. Any holiday where you spend your time remembering that slavery is bad, life without slavery is good, and we celebrate Democrats losing their grip on slavery in the United States, I say bravo. Fantastic and wonderful and terrific. Anytime we can note Democrats losing the battle on slavery, we should say hooray, and then kind of like cheer a little bit and say that's just fantastic. I don't actually have any kind of music for that. If I did, I would play it, but I don't. That's the White House press briefing right there. The best I have for you is this right here.
Fred Garvin, male prostitute.
Fred Garvin, male prostitute. Best I could do in a pinch. The press conference will start. We'll bring that to you. The Fed holding interest rates, though, is I argue exactly what I thought the Fed was going to do. Hey, inflation is down. This is good. This is worthwhile, but it isn't perfect yet. So let's just hold. Let's not rush into anything. Let's not be silly. Let's just wait to see what happens. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. I'm not amazed. I'm not stunned. It's kind of what I thought they would do. Oh, yeah. Oh, Trump is unhappy. Jerome Powell's the dumbest guy. His mother this. And I get it. I understand what he wants, especially if you're taking a look at refinancing debt. We have a lot of debt. Debt is coming due. You want to refinance that at the better rates. You want interest rates down. That's why Trump is pushing for a point. Also, if you have any concern, any at all, regarding tariffs having an effect, you want interest rates to go down. Now, so far, admittedly, we've really got a good month in on this, and we're not seeing it, which is kind of fascinating because they're collecting billions, and the billions come from us. We, the people, comes from American citizens. Of course it does. We pay the tariffs, not the business, not China. We do. The argument is, well, we'll buy less of their stuff and more of our stuff where there's no tariff, and of course, the price is is going to be better. Not necessarily better, maybe equal. So you'll still buy the thing that you've always bought because that's the thing you're used to. Still not a fan of the tariffs. But it's interesting how this has come into the conversation of job growth. This has come into the conversation of wages. The feel and the White House, of course, was cheering this. That blue collar wages were at their absolutely best number ever. But it was interesting to hear President Trump yesterday being asked about Senator Josh Hawley, because Josh Hawley, inexplicably, the Republican from Missouri, and foolishly, and I would tell him directly, said, we want to push the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We want to be Bernie Sanders in the fight for 15, and we want to give a $15 an hour minimum wage. President Trump. No, you don't. Yeah, sir, you don't have to speak to Josh. I'm telling you right now. Josh is just wrong. You don't have to speak to Josh when Josh is wrong. You have to say, Josh, I love you, boo-boo, but this is a terrible idea. Because it's an absolutely terrible idea. Awful. Ridiculous. Foolhardy. You raise the minimum wage, you are hurting small business. You're hurting small business. It is what it is, what it is, what it is.
Bring your vision.
Can't be denied. You'll put people out of business, and you're doing it by claiming you're what? A good guy. That's the worst part. It's the do-goodery of the thing. You want to claim that you're the good person, so you're going to raise the minimum wage for the American worker. You're not paying the minimum wage. You're sitting there in your office with your air conditioning. But somebody else has to pay that advanced minimum wage. And then you're going to tell them what? You can't raise your prices? And when you don't hire another 40 people because of it, you're going to have Trump yelling at you, why aren't you hiring more Americans? It's on every level. Complete, unadulterated garbage. It is pure pablum and pure fantasy. And you should say so, Mr. President. You should say, yeah, that's a terrible idea. That is a terrible, awful idea, and we're not doing that. Thank you very, 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 very much. Then there was the news that President Trump was going to deploy another 2,000, was it 2,000 additional National Guard troops to Los Angeles? I thought things were getting better and the curfews were lifted. The sun was shining. Everybody was getting 3-picture deals. LA was never better. Happy days are here. I don't know. Maybe they sing, maybe they don't. They get the choreography going. Why in the world are you still sending National Guard troops? So one of two things could have taken place. Either President Trump is trying to create something out of nothing, or maybe things aren't perfect in Los Angeles. The weird story about LA is kind of like this weird commentary from Tucker Carlson to Ted Cruz, and I'll get into that. The left wanted to tell you as cars were being set on fire and people were being attacked and law enforcement was being attacked and ICE agents were being attacked and people were being threatened, that this is not a riot like 1992 and Rodney King. It was 92 or was that 94, producer Carl? 92. Thank you so much. No, it's not like that. It's just one area. It's all contained. But that's not a problem. Tucker Carlson asked Senator Ted Cruz, "Do you know how many people live in Iran?" And Senator Cruz, I don't. You don't know how many people live in the country where that you want to topple? What? I think that's very strange. I think it's strange you don't know that. That's my Tucker impression. It's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, if I wanted to go old school, I'd put on the bow tie. Isn't the issue the Ayatollah? Isn't the issue the mullahs, the hardliners, and the clerics? Not how many people live in Iran? Isn't the issue that the law enforcement is being attacked in downtown? Not that every corner of Los Angeles isn't attacking law enforcement? I'm sorry, it's just such an easy argument to smack down, and its silliness, in the purposefulness of its obtuseness. It matters. If you're setting fire to vehicles and attacking law enforcement, no matter where it is, it matters. I don't know if it needs another $2,000 National Guard troops, but I'm not going to get bothered by it. This is Tony Katz today. Oh, right now it's getting weird. Now we're getting really, really weird because we have people who are supposed to be calling in.
Let's talk about what we can do when we do it together.
With illegal entries being
there's this
overwhelmingly
right here.
halted,
Everybody's
the
calling
Trump
in and doing the
administration
thing.
is dramatically ramping up efforts to arrest and deport all of the millions of criminal illegal aliens that Joe Biden let into our country over the past 4 years. President Trump has
Hi, this is Tony Katz. First of all, a pleasure, sir. Forgive me for not using your title and just your first name there. I'm taking care of 3 technical things at once. Can you hear me, sir? No problem. Now, we're not live on the radio yet. We're going to be there in just a few minutes, but I'm going to turn on a little bit of the White House press briefing right here. My live stream audience, which can hear you or will be able to hear you, want to catch a part of that. So I'm just going to put that up for a little bit. So just stay right there and we'll get with you in a few minutes, sir. And by the way, just in the pronunciation of your name, could you give it to me, please? Okay. My Hebrew is pretty good. Not expert, but I think I had that part right. So very, very good. I've got you right here. Stay right there, sir.
Contrast from the negative wage growth seen during the first 5 months of the Biden administration. America is quickly returning to the successful formula of the first Trump administration: low inflation and rising wages. Once the big beautiful bill is passed, this positive trend will only accelerate. Senate Republicans are continuing to push this critical legislation forward. The One Big Beautiful Bill will drive growth and supercharge the American economy. The Council of Economic Advisors found that the One Big Beautiful Bill will raise take-home pay by nearly $14,000 for a year for the average family of 4. The CEA also found that the One Big Beautiful Bill will increase wages as much as $11,000 for the average worker in America. The One Big Beautiful Bill expands the child tax credit and makes it permanent for more than 40 million families with children. And the bill will deliver no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and substantial tax cuts for our incredible seniors. Simply put, the One Big Beautiful Bill is a massive win for middle-class Americans. When nearly 80 million Americans sent President Trump back to this White House, they were doing so expecting these popular policies to be enacted. Republicans in Congress have a mandate to deliver, and President Trump demands they send this historic bill to his desk for signature by Independence Day, July 4th. The American people are fully behind President Trump. According to brand new polling from Insider Advantage, a clear 54% majority of Americans
stay on the line
approve of the
with
job
me, and we're going to be with
President
you.
Trump
Coming
is
back to the
doing.
radio show in a
That's
minute.
because
We'll
this
be with
president
you
is keeping
in a
his
few minutes.
promises
If you
and
would, sir.
taking action every day to improve their lives. And passing this bill
Sound good?
will help fulfill a number of President Trump's
All right.
core
Perfect.
campaign
Thank
promises.
you so much for being
Now,
patient with me.
regarding the
We
ongoing
worked some of these
situation in
technical things.
Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future. I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Wow.
So we'll kick it off for questions here in our new media seat. We have Eli Lake from the Free Press. Eli, go ahead. And great. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, that's certainly different. Something making his decision in the next 2 weeks, but might not be the conversation that is totally what's the word I'm looking for? Might not be the total truth. Might not be the total truth. Right there. We will get to that. Go ahead, bring it up there, producer Carl. Just moments ago, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said that President Trump has stated in regards to Iran and participation in this fight that he will make a decision in the next 2 weeks. That is very, very interesting. Is he saying that he's not prepared to do something today? Is he saying that this is all about trying to find a way to work a deal with the Ayatollah? When asked about it, well, he should have made a deal. Iran should have made a deal. They should have made a deal. They didn't make a deal. It might be too late. Remember, the two rules of Trumpism exist. The first rule of Trumpism is Trump wins. And the second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. We have Atai Baran on the line. He is the Counsel for Political and Economic Affairs of the Consulate General of Israel to the Midwest. They have consulate generals across the country. And sir, I share that with you from Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. Is Israel hoping or in stronger terms that the United States will get involved and deliver these bunker busters on Fordow and Natanz, these nuclear enrichment facilities that Iran has?
First of all, good afternoon, Tony. Thank you for having me. We believe that this decision, whether to strike Iran or not, should of course be made by America and by America only. Okay? However, I would say that Israel is defending its citizens, but also standing up for a global security. I would say that the intelligence was clear. Without intervention, Iran could have a testable nuclear device within a very short time. This was a threat to the world, okay? And the world could not afford to ignore it. But again, this decision needs to be made by the Americans only.
The decision made by the Americans only still wouldn't address whether or not the Israelis as a whole or the Netanyahu government wants the United States to make this move. Is the belief that, yes, indeed, everything would be easier if the United States would assist with this bunker buster technology?
I think it's quite obvious. I think that we disabling and dismantling these capabilities is a global interest, and we think that as more players joining this effort, that would be better.
One of the things that's being discussed here in the United States, they argue that it is a big divide, a chasm in the world of MAGA, which I know means Make America Great Again. Those are the most ardent President Trump supporters. And the thought is that that getting involved here goes against President Trump's own belief of ending forever wars. And there's also an argument that we have been hearing that Iran is close to a nuclear weapon for the last 20 years. Why is this still an argument? Why would we believe it now? How do you respond to people who say it's been 20 years of hearing Iran is close to a nuclear weapon? What do you say to them?
That I think that it's very different. The situation is very different than it was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and even 5 years ago. Okay, look, recently the Islamic and possessed enough enriched materials for at least 9 atomic bombs, and it was actively developing intercontinental, and I emphasize, I want to highlight this, intercontinental ballistic missiles that could reach not only to Europe, but I think that in the future would be able to get to the United States. I think, and I said it even before, this is a global interest. It's not just Israel. The fact that Israel is located in the Middle East, okay, puts us, of course, in the front line. But this is a global threat, and this is how we should treat it.
Talking to Ty Baran, he is the Consulate General or Counsel for Political and Economic Affairs with the Consulate General of Israel to the Midwest. The first part of what I said is maybe a bigger story, which is you don't want to be in the world of forever wars. And it seems that getting involved here is not just the idea of this bunker buster, this being able to engage a destruction of Fordo and Natanz and possibly other nuclear sites. It is a chain reaction from the Islamist world of what that might mean for United States safety and security, as you and the Israelis must have game plans regarding Israeli safety and security. You mentioned that this is the world's problem. In short, in long, how do you see that problem playing out if nothing is done to stop Iran?
This is exactly the problem that I want to point out on. Okay, this is exactly the problem, because doing nothing means that this threat will still be there, and this threat will become bigger and bigger and more dangerous. I think that this is the time. This is the right time to dismantle this threat.
If the threat is not dismantled, President Trump is a guy who, as I said, believes in a deal. We just heard 2 weeks. That's not 2 hours. That's not 2 days. That is, I think, a much bigger amount of time than people expected. And it could mean a whole bunch of things. It doesn't mean that it will be 2 weeks. But if President Trump comes to a deal with the Ayatollah, with Iran, does Israel consider this to be a failure on the part of the U.S.?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because I don't know. I don't know what kind of deal the president is talking about, and but I'm sure that the American President Trump, he's fully aware of the situation. He knows all of the details, and any decision that he will make sure that this threat is being dismantled, and this is what's important.
Have there been other nations that Israel has been reaching out to, European nations or even Arab nations, which have been, eerily silent? A lot of Arab nations may not have a love for Israel, but they certainly don't have a love for Iran. Certainly Syria has been willing to open up airspace, which has been quite interesting. Has there been outreach from other nations, and has it been to try and get Israel to stop, or has it been to say, hey, how can we help you dismantle these nuclear facilities?
I think that the Middle East, as we've seen in the last few years, is not anymore a place that it's not anymore about this war between Jews and Arabs and Jews and Muslims and so on and so forth. It's a war between radicals, extremists, and moderates. And I can share that we always trying to do our best to make sure that we partner with the moderate players in our region and outside of our region.
Before I let you go, sir, we know that the hospital there, Soroka in Beersheba, was hit. We know that residential areas have been hit. The difference between Iran and Israel targeting military, targeting the scientists, targeting those in the leadership, and the Iranians just trying to kill as many Jews as possible. That seems very obvious here. Is there a issue with Iron Dome that even the small amount of these ballistic missiles have been able to get through, and is there a way to further shore up those defenses?
Look, Iron Dome is a miracle. Iron Dome is tremendous, but it is not. It doesn't give like a 100% solution, and we take it under consideration. But I wanted to thank you that mentioning this targeting of Sorok Hospital, the biggest hospital in southern Israel, and saying one more time that Israel's actions were aimed at military and strategic infrastructure, only military and strategic infrastructure, and the Iranians. Since last Friday, the Iranian regime launched more than 400 missiles and hundreds of UAVs at population centers, killing 24 Israeli civilians to date and injured more than 800. They target densely populated civilian areas, and this is outrageous.
That right there, Atai Baran, Counsel for Political and Economic Affairs. He is with the Consulate General of Israel to the Midwest. Sir, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We wish you nothing but the absolute best, and we will be in touch going into the future. Sir, thank you. Let me bring it back now to the press conference with the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt speaking to those amassed.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Harry and then Elizabeth.
Two questions, one on Iran and then the second on something Jasmine Crockett said this morning. So given that we know the Iranian government did order an operative to assassinate the president, is there concern that Iran might respond with non-traditional military ways to some kind of strike on Iran, such as another assassination attempt? And has the Department of Justice looked into this last attempt on the president's life?
I believe Secret Service and the FBI have looked into the 2 assassination attempts that took place against the president, both of which were sad days in our nation's history. So I would defer you to the Department of Justice on where those investigations stand. But as for your question regarding Iranian retaliation, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals again, but I can assure the American public and the world that this administration is prepared and ready to defend American interests and assets, not just in the region, but here on our homeland as well.
Thank you. And then really quick on
We'll have more from Caroline Leavitt coming up in just a little bit. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today.
Especially considering she's
back to the
a rising star in
guys.
the Democrat Party right now.
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up, outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime, and she can see it for herself. Jennifer.
One on North Korea and one on China. On North Korea, they launched some rockets into the ocean today. What does the White House make of that? Do you read any meaning into that timing of that launch? And then on China, do you have any reaction to Xi Jinping's offer of intervening in Iran diplomatically? And are you seeing any signs that China would get involved militarily to support Iran?
I don't believe we're seeing any signs of that at this moment in time. As for Xi Jinping's offer, I will leave it to the president to respond to that himself. As for your question about North Korea, we are monitoring the situation. The Trump administration is in close contact with our new South Korean counterparts as we work together to deter our adversaries and preserve a free and open Indo-Pacific. And no matter where, our adversaries and our allies alike know that President Trump will not tolerate threats against our interests on his watch, even as he works to resolve the wars that he inherited. Alex, go ahead, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you. Is the president concerned about the economy if farms and hotels, et cetera, struggle to find workers?
The president's always concerned about the economy. That's on his mind every day. He wakes up, he checks the markets, he checks wage growth. As I pointed out, it's a record high today for middle class and American workers. So the president's always wanting to ensure that we have a strong and robust economy for the American people and worker, and we do. As for the specific concerns regarding jobs, look, the president has made it very clear we need to remove public safety threats from the interior of our country, and that remains the focus and the priority of this administration when it comes to deportations, no matter where somebody works. If they're an illegal alien rapist or murderer that was allowed into this country in the past 4 years by this administration, the American people want those types of criminals to be deported from our country, and that's what the president is backing ICE to do.
There was an apparent skirmish between the Chinese and the Philippines in the South China Sea. Just curious if you had any reaction to that, and if the steps you're taking towards the Middle East right now are reducing your capacity to deal with that situation.
I believe that happened as I was preparing and coming out here, so we'll get you a response to that. Certainly we have one, and our teams are always monitoring situations all around the globe.
Okay, and then one more just on Iran. Just over the past 24 hours, we've seen some Israeli strikes on Natanz, Isfahan, and Kondab nuclear facilities. Is there any assessment just of how effective or what the result of those strikes will be?
What I can share is that the IDF and Israel, I think, have exceeded a lot of people's expectations in their ability to really hinder Iran's nuclear facilities, but also they've taken out key people in the Iranian regime's leadership as well. So this is something, of course, we are monitoring and watching every day.
Come back to
and
the radio show, guys.
Was just in an intelligence briefing. He continues to be briefed by his National Security Council, and he will throughout the duration of this war and conflict. And he also remains in constant communication with our Israeli counterparts, most notably Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Kristen.
Thank you, Caroline. We have heard from a number of U.S. officials who say that Iran doesn't want to make a deal, that they are just stringing the United States along. What is to say that they are not going to continue to do so if we continue to give them extensions now 2 weeks before
Nothing. You can't.
days?
Look,
How would you
Iran
know?
is in a very weak and vulnerable position because of the strikes and the attacks from Israel. And with respect to the president's
Carl?
statement, I shared that with all of you. And he has been very direct and clear.
When are we back?
Iran can and should make a deal. We
40
sent a deal
seconds?
to them that was practical, that was realistic, or they will face grave consequences.
Why is Steve Witkoff not participating in the talks this week?
I can ask Mr. Witkoff why he is not.
Thanks, Caroline. Does the president object if Israel attempts its own operation against Fordo in the next 2 weeks?
I won't decide that for the president, nor will I share that here. I'll let him speak to that.
Just another one. Iran is apparently warning Europeans that if struck by the U.S., it may withdraw from the nuclear proliferation treaty. That would result in throwing out inspectors and taking the program dark. What does the president think of the value of having Iran as a full signatory of that treaty?
Well, that's reckless rhetoric, but I understand the Europeans are meeting with the Iranians tomorrow, so we'll see how that meeting goes.
Just one more
go
on
ahead. Go ahead.
Juneteenth. Does the
Nikki.
president plan to commemorate the holiday today or make any comment on it?
I'm not tracking his signature on a proclamation today. I know this is a federal holiday. I want to thank all of you for showing up to work. We are certainly here. We're working 24/7 right now. Nikki, go ahead.
Actually, that was my question. Will you plan to mark Juneteenth in any way, either today or with an event later on, maybe next week?
Sure. I just answered that question for you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Caroline. The fact that this president is giving some time and space for diplomacy, another 2 weeks, does it mean that the president is trying his best to avoid a direct conflict with Iran?
I think the president has made it clear he always wants to pursue diplomacy, but believe me, the president is unafraid to use strength if necessary. And Iran and the entire world should know that the United States military is the strongest and most lethal fighting force in the world, and we have capabilities that no other country on this planet possesses.
That much is true. Caroline Leavitt, their White House press secretary, when she's not being asked about Iran and making a deal, she's being asked, what's the president doing to celebrate Juneteenth? People are going to do what they do, man. Can't change that. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. There was I don't know the reporter that asked the question, but I said we're live streaming. I said to everybody on the live stream, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. And the question was, how can you be sure if there's a deal to be made with the Ayatollah that Iran will live up to it? This is the kind of question that is just too silly for words. It's not a question. It's a, hey, I would like to hear my own voice. There is no guarantee that any deal with the Iranians, with the Ayatollah, is going to last, is going to work. There's no guarantee that it isn't just a complete and total lie. Of course. Of course. What a foolish thing to go about saying, to go about believing that somehow it'll be ironclad and last for forever. I personally don't think there's any deal to be made. I'm not Trump. Trump sees these things differently than you and I might see these things. We'll see what takes place. Let's talk about what we know. We know that the U.S. Navy met its 2025 recruiting goal 3 months early. That is a story. That they were able to get there. And they have 40,600 new sailors that are going to recruit training command at Great Lakes, Illinois in September. More qualified and motivated Americans than ever are stepping forward and answering the call to serve their country. This, according to the Navy Secretary, John Phelan. This is what Republicans need to be running on. Why is this? Why is this the case? How is it possible that recruiting was so bad, so horrible, so horrific, so shameful, so ugly, so ridiculous, so pathetic under Joe Biden? And here we are today. Maybe it's because these men, and yes, women, feel they have something to fight for. Finally, a commander-in-chief and a thought process that they can connect with. Maybe this is about not trying to turn the military in some kind of social justice weird freak show. Maybe all three. I'm Tony Katz. All right, let me bring back in the press secretary.
Very clear. Iran has.
And I may step away, but I'll leave this with you guys for a little bit.
All they
right?
need is a decision from the Supreme.
I still have another hour to go.
A couple of weeks to complete.
We can just stream
the
it.
production of that
I
weapon.
have no problem with
Which would,
that.
of course, pose
Just keep it going.
an existential threat, not just to Israel,
You're
but
all right
to the
with
United
that?
States and to the entire
Keep
world.
listening to this.
And that
Find
is
out.
something that the entire world, including countries like Russia, is in agreement with, that Iran should not and cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. And that's why the president believes that, and he's believed that, again, not just his political career, but frankly, his entire life.
So it
Michael.
sounds like it's the former, just to be clear.
Correct.
That they have the components. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Michael.
Caroline, as we look forward to the NATO summit next week, Spain right now is threatening not to oblige the president's request for all NATO countries to spend at least 5% of their GDP. Does the president take issue with this, with Spain right now?
I didn't see Spain's comments. I'll make sure the president sees them, and I can assure you he wants to see all European countries pay their fair share and meet that 5% threshold. It's only fair considering the American taxpayers have given a significant chunk of money to the tune of billions of dollars to support our mutual interests and our assured defense. So I will let him speak to that, but he's made his priorities for our European allies quite clear, including Spain.
Caroline, one last question. When it comes to the president's position on foreign policy in general, is there a phrase that the White House has coined? Is there a Trump doctrine? Does the president like to talk about this? Anyone here in the White House talking about this? And if so, if there is something akin to a Trump doctrine, how would you define it?
America first, always. And with that, I think I'll leave you. I know there's a lot of news in the world right now. As you know, our team is always here to answer your questions. And the president, I am sure, will take more questions from you guys at some point this week, as he always does in the effort of transparency.
There she goes.
I appreciate your being here on a federal holiday, and we'll see you later. Thank you.
There she goes. Caroline Levitt. Walk it away. I'm done with you people. We were, as I said, we're taking the break. We're in the middle of the radio break here, so we will do that. And We'll come back in a bit. So smoke them if you got them. Stay right here. We'll be back momentarily, guys. The music turned off, didn't it? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you without music. Always like to leave you kind of like dancing and swaying. And wait, is that not it? Is that not how it goes? Guys, welcome, Tony Katz. Tony Katz. That's my pillow for the semi-destroyed arm. A couple months from now, it'll be fine. Good to be with you, Tony Katz today on the Twitter X at Tony Katz, on Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. You can head on over there, and of course, streaming on YouTube. No, I'm certainly not anti-Rumble. It's just sometimes their system is a little more involved, so I don't always get to get that up and running. But good to be with you guys right there. And let me we've got that right. We've got Caroline Levitt right there as we get ready to come back to the radio show in just another 30 seconds. Producer Carl taking care of everything back in mission control, and appreciate him for handling that. And let me make sure I've got everything else. Oh, Lord, BB. That's a silly thing to say. And Gavir's being Gavir. This is a little bit of internal politics on the Israeli side, but we will get to it. There's also some other things to get to. So the show's begun. Let's get to it, Carl.
Thanks, Caroline. What exactly would a deal with Iran need to entail?
No enrichment of a uranium, and it would absolutely not. Iran is not absolutely not able to achieve a nuclear weapon. The president has been very clear about that. And by the way, the deal that Special Envoy Witkoff proposed to the Iranians was both realistic and acceptable within its terms, and that's why the president is sent that deal to them.
To follow up on what you told Natalie, are the talks that the United States is currently having with Iran direct, or are those through intermediaries? And if so, which countries are acting as the intermediary right now?
Out of respect for the ongoing discussions and negotiations, I'm not going to get into the details of them. We've provided you confirmation for now. Go ahead. Sure, and then behind you too.
Thanks. Sorry. On the topic of negotiations and talks, does the president have any hopes or specific expectations for the talks tomorrow between European foreign secretaries and their Iranian counterpart?
Well, certainly the entire world is on the president's side when it comes to the fact that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something that pretty much all of humanity, except for the Iranian terrorist regime themselves, agree upon. And so the president expects that Europe will deliver that message directly to the Iranians.
We'll see if they do. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. That's Caroline Levitt, White House press secretary, who just finished up the White House press briefing and said that the president will be making decisions on direct involvement within 2 weeks. Well, this is new. This is a new conversation. The president making this statement. That announcement accompanying the quote that says, based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. That is how Caroline Levitt, White House press secretary, put it. We have often discussed deeds versus words. So allow me to bring that back as an important piece of information to always have in your mind when understanding Donald Trump. It is not what he says, it is what he does. He says a whole bunch of things. He says all sorts of things. If you haven't noticed, the president of the United States, nice guy, likes to talk. He's got a thought about everything, and everything's got a thought. You know what matters? The action. I think it would be odd to hear the president simply through his press secretary announce a 2-week reprieve for the Iranians, for the Ayatollah. We should be a little more specific about that. I would think it odd, strange, peculiar, all the things that you would. That he would decide, hey, Ayatollah, take a breather. You know, take some time. Refortify. Now, of course, refortifying is difficult when the Israelis have full and complete and total air domination and are bombing at will and are really, as we've been hearing from Michael Tobin and from the Consul General to the Midwest there, the political person there, that they've been doing good work on these mobile missile launchers, getting these things destroyed. But it's weird to think that, all right, we'll give you 2 weeks, then we'll figure it out. No, that's not what's being said. Within the next 2 weeks, it could be happening right now. It could be happening 2 hours from now. It could be happening 2 days from now. That's the part to remember. It's not what he said. First of all, there's always a little bit more to it with Trump. There's always the way Trump likes to take something. You just got to understand who you're dealing with. That's all. Like him, don't like him. That means nothing to me. But he's the president. We're making decisions. One has to be able to understand what's going on. No part of the statement, now that I've had a chance to kind of break it down and take a look at it, no part of the statement says that the United States isn't going to go. Not a single word of that statement says that the White House, that Donald Trump isn't going to go. The question, of course, we ask is, should he? This brings us to the, all right, let us describe this the only way it can be described. The single most boring conversation that has ever taken place, the one between Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz. Maybe I'm the only one who sees it as outright boring, but it was. Tucker's doing gotcha questions. Ted Cruz, he's smarter than this. You didn't know how to look him in the eye and handle this. I mean, this is what we've got.
It's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are. I did not. Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews?
You said, I'm asking you.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No.
Stop. You call me an anti-Semite, I call you a sleazy feline. Now, it took me a second to understand what he meant by sleazy feline. I'm telling you right now, I had to go down a bit of the rabbit hole. I had to ask myself, is this what I think this is? Is this how exactly as I hear it? Because I hear it a certain way. Is this exactly what I think it is? And it turns out,
yes. Yes! 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 Oh!
Yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was. And if you're like Tony, I'm sorry, I still don't get it. Even if you email me, I'm not going to tell you. That is not getting written by me in an email to anyone. But it just proves the point that the conversation was just daft. This is a conversation about whether or not we should be involved. Whether or not we should do this. Are we being led into something here? Now, I will tell you, that the people are like, my gosh, look what Tucker Carlson did to him. He didn't even know the population of Iran. That was one of the questions, right? Do you know how many people live in Iran? And Ted Cruz was like, no. And Tucker Cruz that's their baby. Tucker Carlson was like, what? Huh? You don't know? You don't know? How is it possible? How is it possible that you want to turn over a topless nation? You don't know. You don't know how many people. That is my Tucker impression. It's kind of terrible, and Tucker deserves better than that, so I apologize. And Ted Cruz is like, all right, tell me how many people. 92 million. And then that got put on Twitter, and Twitter had the community notes and said, actually, it's 91.5 million. And that's when I realized bourbon for everybody, because everyone's a schmuck. Doesn't matter how many people live in Iran. It doesn't change an argument. Tucker Carlson isn't some kind of maniacal genius for getting the gotcha there. And it's weird to say he said 92 million, but it's actually only 91.5. This isn't The Price is Right being the closest bid without going over. Could everybody just stop being weird? Just stop. We're dealing with something serious here, and we have no time for this garbage. And that's what this is. And that's what this interview was. Tucker, Senator Cruz, this was trash. Nothing got accomplished. Nothing got done. No one is smarter for it. Nobody really moved a strong policy prescription here. Two things are known. Number one, if you ask me if Tucker has a problem with Israel, the answer is absolutely he does. Absolutely. He may not want to admit it, but he does. Does Tucker have an argument about how he sees America and American intervention? Absolutely. And there are a bunch of people, not the totality of people, but a bunch of people who buy into this and who believe that his approach is accurate. Ted Cruz, dear Senator, you cannot say the Bible commands us to support Israel and then not know where it is in the Bible. I say that not because it's okay not to know. It's that you brought it up as an actual piece of why this has to happen. If you're going to do that, you have to be able to explain that. It's not the craziest thing to say you got to know chapter and verse. And so to that, I was only bothered that Ted Cruz, who is a wickedly smart cat, wasn't more prepared. On that one line, I was bothered that Ted Cruz didn't understand who Tucker was. Tucker's entire interview philosophy is that of snark. I work in Indianapolis with a radio host named Nigel, afternoon host in Indy. And Nigel has a T-shirt of Tucker Carlson's face. Producer Carl, I know you've seen this before over there. And he's got a T-shirt of Tucker Carlson's face. And the look Tucker Carlson has on his face is this look of, I really need to go to the bathroom, but I also might be in deep thought. Like it's both things. It's this questioning but pained kind of expression. It's the expression that Tucker always gave on his Fox show when somebody was answering a question. It was ridiculous and hilarious and weird. And my gosh, he's always making this face like he's so confused by what everybody is saying to him. What I did not know was he was utilizing that show to perfect this concept. When I don't agree with somebody, I don't say I disagree. I simply say, oh, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that. It's like when he was doing the interview with Piers Morgan, and he was talking about an ally, and he's like, well, what's an ally? What does that mean? What does that mean? What do you mean by that? What does it mean? Again, with the by the way, producer Carl, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was my Tucker impression? Yeah. Well, you laugh at everything, so it's not even fair. But like I'm going to give it a solid 4.5. I'm going with a 4.5. I'm trying, but I'm not really cracking the Rich Little threshold. right? You got to be at a 6 before an impression is an impression. Otherwise, it's just like cute around the dining room table. That you can't go on the road with that one. But that's always the thing, and then the laughing. I don't even know what that means. Stop. Maybe it's me, and maybe my problem is I don't bring any snarky to the table. I actually want to hear what somebody says, and then I want to discuss the thing that was said. And Senator Cruz allowed himself to get angry, and a couple times literally said, "Could you not be so snarky?" I'm sorry, if you're a grown man and using the word snarky, I don't know what to do with you. You know who this interview helped? No one. You know what this interview elucidated? Nothing. Did it help create a larger conversation amongst conservatives? No. It did, however, allow everybody to retreat to their fiefdoms. Tucker Carlson really understands America first and the end of forever wars. My gosh, Ted Cruz really exposed that Tucker Carlson because he's a jerk. Part of being a conservative, part of the joy, is that we are able to engage conversations and even disagree. And that disagreement is valuable to everybody who wants to hear differing point of views and maybe say, "Ooh, that's interesting. How does that play out to the end? How does that apply to me? Is that something I can attach to? Ooh, maybe that's an interesting way for me to discuss my thing. Ooh, maybe that makes me rethink my position." The conservative, that's the way the debate should go. It is not emotional. It is rational. I'm not saying that in the whole, was it an hour? Do I have the time right? Maybe it was a little bit more than that. I'm not saying there probably weren't moments like that. I'm sure I could go fish them out. But there's enough of this being played on social media and the other places to make you just wash your hands of the whole thing. Ted Cruz is an unbelievably smart dude, and nobody has been a conversation igniter in America like Tucker Carlson since Glenn Beck had the Fox show. And the both of them sat down and screwed it all up. That stinks. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, guys. Tony Katz today. Yes, producer Carl? Oh, 2 minutes. Yes, understood. It was producer Carl saying, should we reach out to Tucker and invite him on the show? I'm like, yeah, we can do that. I wouldn't mind. I disagree with him about Israel, but it's so strange. There are people who are so angry at him. And then there's this whole idea that he has been paid by the Qatar. So as I know it, Qatar has paid or made reference to payments for trying to, build a better image on social media. But I haven't seen anything. I'm not saying it isn't out there. I haven't seen anything that said, here's a check paid to Tucker Carlson. It's like, I don't know if he was paid by Qatar, what would you think of him? For example, I once had somebody say to me, you can't talk. You were paid by Americans for Prosperity. And they showed the pay, right? So stuff's public. I got paid. I'm like, yeah. And they bought this shirt for me because I got paid and I was able to buy the shirt. I'm not apologizing for that. A group based on lower taxes and trying to create a more prosperous America. The thing I disagreed with was when they decided to go all in on Nikki Haley. I don't know what they were thinking right there. But on policy stuff, there's a bunch of things where I'm down with them. Some things I disagree, but I was happy to do work with them. Maybe I'll do work with them in the future. Lord only knows. Lord only knows. But I until someone can prove it to me that he was working for the Qataris, it's just one of those things that gets said. If it's alleged, I don't know what to do with that. I like data. We're coming back to the show. We'll get into this. I'll explain it.
Governor Gavin Newsom expressed real concern about what these ICE raids and these ICE deployments are doing for the ability to fight fires. And here's how he links the two. With peak fire season right on the horizon, we need all available boots on the ground to protect communities. President Trump's illegal militarization of Los Angeles is sidelining crucial firefighting and prevention resources. More than half of Task Force Rattlesnake. It's time to end the chaos and get California's National Guard back to this important work. Can you elaborate on that? How has the administration co-opted fire resources?
They haven't, MSNBC, and I'm so glad that you asked. No fire resources have been co-opted. This is the governor, Gavin Newsom, and now the I let the city burn twice mayor, Karen Bass, wanting to throw shade at Trump because they don't want anybody looking at them.
Well, let me just say that when the fires happened, the devastation happened in Palisades, which was the only area of Los Angeles that was impacted. Altadena and Malibu are not in the city of Los Angeles.
They're in the county.
When that happened,
yep.
Yes, in the county. When that happened, the governor was right there, sending the National Guard to Los Angeles. They were here for an extended period of time, and we were very appreciative of that. The point is that when we need the National Guard, he's always willing to send them. And so now you have this massive deployment, and it's in the thousands. So when fire season happens again, will they be available?
What do you mean, will they be available? What is that? How is that even a conversation? Of course they'll be available. Are you saying they'll be too tired? Are you saying that the National Guard isn't capable of now dealing with the fires? Is it that there won't be enough people available because you utilize their time for this? Are you secretly saying, and not so secretly saying, that President Trump is utilizing their time so that when fire season comes, he hopes California burns to the ground? Just a question, Karen Bass. Have you changed any part of your mitigation strategy? And have you started clearing brush up and down Mulholland, for example, so when the next fires come, you don't have this freaking tinder just laying out for miles? Has the state changed? Anything? This is a presetting the stage so that no matter what goes wrong, the Democratic Party of California, can claim, well, you see, Trump wasted our National Guard. See what he did? See what he did with it? He sent it here. It wasn't even a riot. It wasn't even a problem. Look what Trump did. And now all this destruction, all Trump's fault. You want to talk about playing fast and loose with people's lives? Dang. That's downright ugly. This is Tony Katz Today. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Good Lord. So to finish regarding Tucker. Yeah, I disagree with him. On Israel. I don't know if he took money from Qatar. But there's no doubt that he is this national figure and that he spurs conversations happening. So would I interview him? Absolutely, I would. 1,000%. The reaction to Trump saying, I'll know within 2 weeks. It's not great. Is it taco? Asked producer Carl, which stands for Trump always chickens out. It is his way. It is his style. It is his belief that you could do the deal until you can't. And the fact that he's like, I'm going to give you another 2 weeks. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon because this right. I made the argument, and I believe rightfully so, that just because he says 2 weeks doesn't mean that he's going to give it 2 weeks. That is, I believe, the correct argument. Now let's take a look at a part two argument, and I'll also bring this to radio. You're the one who said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And I'm so serious about this, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. Sorry. That doesn't work. Doesn't work. My argument still holds. Just because he says 2 weeks doesn't mean it'll be 2 weeks. It could be 2 hours. It could all be deflection, which is why I'm not one of these people screaming and yelling on social media saying, hey, look at me. By the way, you don't get famous that way. You always got to be, hey, look at me. You always got to be saying the thing. Otherwise in this world, how in the world do you gain any fame? Just the facts. The wilder your statements, the more people will click your name and subscribe and do all the things. Do you know how terrible it is just to be a normal person and like think things through? I thought that was the goal. I thought that this was what normal people do. Well, if you want to be famous, you just gotta be crazy wild, wacky, I tell yous. Oh, so let us move forward. I have this great story from the CEO of XXXY Athletics. I've got some audio from Jonathan Capehart that we all need to laugh at. So there's a bunch. There is a bunch of stuff. But I appreciate you guys being here, and I appreciate the support and the tip jar stuff, and going to TonyKatz.com and subscribing and being a part of that. TonyKatz.com. You should head over there and like and follow and do all the things. Let's get back to radio.
And Jonathan, it's Democrats as well who are saying or won't say that they regret their vote. Gary Peters, the top Democrat on the committee that oversees DHS, actually defends his decision. He said, look, I have to work with these folks. I guess for some folks that raises the question, can they be worked with? Where does this go from here?
First things first. This is a story in MSNBC about how some Democrats regret to vote in voting confirmation or regretting their vote to confirm Kristi Noem as the Homeland Security Secretary. Senator Alex Padilla, a man, lunged at her, tried to push past law enforcement to go at her. It was a man trying to interrupt a woman. Where the hell are the leftist progressive feminists to be upset with this? She's the problem. They're running with this. They think this is a story. Jonathan Capehart, who I think is formerly the Washington Post, a guy who was once so offensive to Hugh Hewitt. Hugh Hewitt walked off and quit the Washington Post. That's a true story. It is some stunning stuff. And Capehart didn't care. Capehart is a progressive and isn't interested in conversation. He's interested in his ideology and the propaganda of it. Tony Katz today, good to be with you. Democratic senators, I regret voting for Kristi Noem.
Yes, that is the key question. Can they be worked with? You know, I can understand why Democratic members of the Senate decided to vote to confirm Kristi Noem. There's the tradition that, you know, it's advise and consent. The president should have the cabinet that he wants, particularly with this administration. There are way too many people in cabinet positions they aren't qualified for. But let's
talk about qualifications. You want to talk about Lloyd Austin's entire military career? You can. But as defense secretary, he went AWOL. He went under the knife, anesthesia, surgery, and did not inform his underlings, did not inform his boss, who ostensibly was Joe Biden or whoever was actually running the country at the time. And then when asked about it, he said some things are private. Not for the Secretary of Defense. I want a log of every time you drop a log. You don't get any secrecy or privacy from us, the American people, regarding when you have surgery. What that Pete Hegseth doesn't have the career of running the large-scale organization. That's not a bug. That could very well be a feature. But when you are Jonathan Capehart, and when you are the left, where the institution matters for the sake of the institution, not that the institution should actually do the job for the citizenry, this is the kind of response you get.
You know, let's just put this aside. You know, these are Secretary Noem just should not be in this position. And I say that, one, not just because of her qualifications or lack thereof for Homeland Security, but just take her statements after what happened to Senator Padilla, and saying, her office saying that he lunged at her, even though we saw on video with our own eyes on a loop that did not happen.
Not only did it happen, not only did he go towards where she was standing, if it wasn't for law enforcement physically pushing him back, and it was Senator Padilla pushing back on law enforcement, Lord only knows what would have happened to her. Do you think that a guy pushing on law enforcement is somehow in his right mind if he had gotten to the secretary? Do you think he would have just pushed her aside? Jonathan Capehart thinks that what Senator Padilla did is fine. By the way, did you catch Senator Padilla crying in the well of the Senate, talking about his harrowing experience? Senator Padilla, you're a coward. I show you that video of you to my sons, and I say, boys, don't ever grow up to be like Senator Padilla. That guy is a punk, a weak beta cuck. Don't you ever grow up to be like Senator Padilla. You be a man, and when you make a mistake, you owe up to it. You don't blame everybody else for your mistake and then start crying. That isn't the way it works. That is not what men do. But if we want to talk about secretaries of Homeland Security who aren't capable of doing the job, can we please talk about Alejandro Mayorkas? He was the Secretary of Homeland Security. The border was wide open. Kristi Noem is the Secretary of Homeland Security. We're arresting people. We're not doing the catch and release. We've reduced the number of people who are crossing the border. What argument can you possibly make, Jonathan Capehart? What you can make is the ideological one, not the rational one.
And so, Democrats need to work with Republicans. They are in the majority. The Republican is president of the United States. His administration is filled with Republican true believers. They've got to try to figure out how to work with them. But as we have seen with everything that's been happening with ICE in particular, they don't seem to be interested in working with Congress as a body. And certainly they're not interested in working with Democratic members of Congress.
Democrats can't be worked with when it comes to the border. They were fine with an open border. They were fine with a porous border. They never demanded more from Joe Biden or Alejandro Mayorkas. And when you did have some members like, is it Henry Aguiar of Texas saying the border is a real problem, you guys engaged a primary challenge against him. You're not supposed to work with the Democratic Party on this. You're supposed to protect the border, protect the nation, and tell these very soft on crime, soft on illegal immigration Democrats to screw off and lose in November. By the way, Election Day is November 6th. You're gonna want to write that down. No, I'm sorry, November 3rd, 2026. Woo! Glad I corrected it. November 3rd, 2026 is Election Day. You're gonna want to write that down right there. That's very important. This is the embarrassing stuff. And it is embarrassing. You want to hear something beautiful? What's beautiful is Jennifer Say. Now, I don't know Jennifer Say personally. I've never met her. I wasn't really aware of her until this. I knew that she was the CEO of XXXY Athletics, right? You've got Riley Gaines standing up for women in sports, and of course you have Democrats saying that what is a woman? They don't know anything. They've never heard of such a thing as a woman. Women's sports is of course sexist. They're all in favor of Title IX, but somehow women's sports is sexist. They really are a special breed, this political left. Well, she, in addition to writing a book, I think it was in 2008, she creates XXXY Athletics. She's the CEO. And she has decided that what we need to do away with in America is the concept of HR departments.
I want to be the first company that has no HR. They produce nothing. They monitor our words. They tell us what we can and cannot say. They inhibit creativity. If it's just recruiting, fine, do that. But do not get in my business and tell us how we have to talk about things, what we can say, what words are acceptable and what words are not. It's terrible for business. And so
that, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, God.
Oh, I didn't realize it was going to pick up where I left off. That's not what I was going. I was going for this part.
Yes.
Well, that was all sorts of inappropriate. But she's completely right. HR is about policing, not about what is best for the company. People have to be allowed to speak, and they have to be allowed to make mistakes when they speak. That's what matters. You have to be able to put bad ideas into the sphere. And we have to teach society on many levels to toughen up. You can't be offended by everything all the time. You can't have other people, as she discusses, walking on eggshells. It's no way to work. It's no way to live. It's no way to be. Now, the left can't stop doing this. They want to be angry and miserable and all the things. They've chosen this. This is the life that they've chosen, to quote Hyman Roth from Godfather 2. But the rest of us, we want to be able to engage. We want to be able to share ideas. And we want to be able to say, hey, what do you think of this? And everyone go, man, that sucks. And be like, yeah, it's a terrible idea. We shouldn't do that. Never mind. Never mind. Moving on. Next. That's how you get to the good stuff. That's how you make things better. That's how it's done. So I'm thrilled by what she's saying. I'm thrilled by this idea. And what do the Democrats bring us? More of the same old, same old.
Democracy is not self-executing. It requires people, judges, and people in the Justice Department, and people throughout the government who take an oath to uphold the Constitution. When that isn't happening, we start drifting into something that is not consistent with American democracy. It is consistent with autocracies. We're not there yet completely, but I think that we are dangerously close to.
Some things never change. Now, this coming from Barack Obama, former president of the United States, is of course laughable. This coming from somebody who said, I have a phone and I have a pen. Yeah, but I won. I don't even need to have treaties. I'll just sign documents and we'll all have to live with it because I'm not going to send it to the Senate because it won't get approved. Now complaining about authoritarianism is fantastic. Authoritarianism is the HR department saying you're not allowed to have these conversations, you're not allowed to say these things, and policing you like it's a police state in your business. So you have Jennifer Say, the CEO of XXXY Athletics. You've got the former president, Barack Obama. Which one is more talking about something that is actual and which one is more fear-mongering? I think you can figure it out for yourselves. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. The rare full 3 hours. Look at that. And still as strong as ever. All right. 2 minutes or 1 minute? 2 minutes? That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Yeah, I don't usually do the full 3 hours. I've always wondered why why it is 3 hours. Why does radio do it in 3 hour blocks? And I always assumed it was a money thing. Because I think the natural real time frame is 2. The natural for being able to get it in, a level of energy and everything else is 2 hours. But then if you do that, you would need an extra host. It would cost the station more, all that jazz. So they do the 3. I think that's got to change. I do, because I think there's a conversation to be had about attention. Right? So we've got these short attention spans. It's like anything on social. If you're not grabbing somebody in those first 3 to 6 seconds, they're gone. The average watch time on a video is like 5 seconds, and then they move on to something else. Being asked, why did Rush do it? I think that's because that was the standard, and Rush therefore sets the standard because of the success of the show. And so that's what it is. But that's what it was. I don't know if that means that what it has to be. I'm not the only person who has discussed this, but I am more and more a proponent of it. I love what I get to do, but I sometimes think the 2 hours allows you to get more. It's more compact. You get it in. You're better with it. Bring some other people on. Let's get some more voices going. Just one man's take. Back to the radio show. Cynthia Nixon is an actress. She is Miranda from Sex and the City. She is beyond progressive. I believe she is an outright communist, but I don't want to say something that she might disagree with the label of, even though I'm absolutely right. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. She wants us to know that her son is doing a hunger strike with friends to support Gaza. She says that her son is an observant Jew. I am not as observant, although I don't know his level of observance, but still Jewish. And he is doing the strike as part of his advocacy with Jewish Voices for Peace. When you tell me that you're an observant Jew and you work with an anti-Zionist group that absolutely works with those who want to kill Jews, maybe the thing that you claim to be is not the thing that you are. Just maybe. Jewish, what I forget what they call themselves. The Jewish Voice for Peace. Yeah, those are communists, right? Those are Marxists. Those people are not. Are those the ones where the organization is run by a Muslim? Isn't that one of the organizations? I can't keep up with all of the hateful ridiculousness that's out there. I do get it confused, right? There's the SJP, there's the JVP, right? Is it the Judean People's Front or the People's Front of Judea? I cannot keep up, splitters. Then there is all my Monty Python fans. Miranda Devine writing in the New York Post. FBI emails revealed to the Post expose Biden's Department of Justice obsession with piling on Trump charges. These are internal FBI emails, according to Devine. revealing that agents and prosecutors in the Biden DOJ were looking for ways to pile on new criminal charges against Trump over the January 6th Capitol riot. The emails, which come from 2023, obtained by Chuck Grassley, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, revealed to the Post, according to Miranda Devine, are an example of the nitpicking malice of anti-Trump lawfare that tainted the investigation of special counsel Jack Smith. Right, one of many prosecutors, can we do some work to nail down Trump's role in this? These people were obsessed, and they've always been obsessed. And these people don't believe in justice, they believe in power. And I don't know how many more ways you need to see it. It's right there in front of your eyes. Appreciate you guys being here. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. On Twitter X, Tony Katz. Give that a follow. And on YouTube, the YouTube channel, Tony Katz. Subscribe. Tomorrow, everyone, take care. And guys in the chat, can't thank you enough. Really appreciate you being with me for all three. We'll do it again. Have no fear. Appreciate you guys greatly. Don't forget to go to TonyKatz.com and like that. And of course, on the YouTubes, right? You see it scrolling below. Subscribe on YouTube. Join at TonyKatz.com. Follow on X if you would. And of course, Von Reist. Woo! VonReist.com. All the watches are there. Use promo code CATS to get your discount. Assembled in Indiana, right here in America. So check them out for yourself. Von Reist, RIESTE, VonReist.com. Get your timepiece and have something you'll have for forever, which is pretty dang cool. I appreciate you. I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.